Hello everyone and welcome back to Fear Unfolded. Tonight we bring you a true Halloween horror story so terrifying that it will forever change the way you see October 31st. This is not one of those urban legends told around a campfire, but a real event, recorded and verified, something that truly happened on what many consider the darkest night of the year. Every detail of this story has been carefully cross-referenced with police reports, news archives, witness statements, and historical records to ensure complete accuracy. What makes these stories truly haunting is not just what happened, but the fact that they happened to real people on Halloween night. If you love true horror stories based on real events rather than fiction, make sure to subscribe to Fear Unfolded and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our in-depth analyses of verified, terrifying cases. After watching tonight's episode, feel free to share your own Halloween experiences or theories in the comments below, because we believe the scariest stories are the ones that can be proven true. Now, turn off the lights. Sit back and prepare yourself, because we're about to take you into a real Halloween nightmare that victims and law enforcement witnesses wish they could forget. It was Halloween night, the year I turned 10. In our small town, every Halloween was a major event. The entire neighborhood would eagerly prepare for the biggest parade of the year, a tradition that had spanned generations. The air was filled with the smell of roasted pumpkin seeds, the cheerful chatter of children in their costumes, and a sense of excitement and magic that spread everywhere. But for a grounded kid like me, it was pure torture. While the whole neighborhood was eagerly joining the festival, I, Peta, was stuck at home alone as a punishment. To be fair, I couldn't complain. It was a well-deserved sentence for skipping school to play video games with my friends 2 days earlier. My parents were very strict. Actions have consequences, my dad had said, and my consequence was missing Halloween. To make matters worse, my parents had decided to turn that night into a romantic date night for themselves. "You can't go anyway, sweetie," my mom said, her voice a mix of apology and anticipation. "So your dad and I will go see the parade, then have dinner. We won't be late." I stood at the living room window, watching other families happily making their way down the street. Kids dressed as pirates, princesses, and tiny little ghosts were excitedly showing off their overflowing candy baskets. A feeling of injustice and bitterness welled up inside me. I thought about sneaking out. No one would know anyway, I thought to myself. I'll just slip out for a little bit. But my dad was one step ahead of me. As if reading my mind, he had locked all the doors securely and hidden the key in a place I could never find. "To make sure you're safe while you're home alone," he said. But I knew that was just another way of saying, "to make sure you don't sneak out to play." I was bitter, but I had to admit defeat. I trudged up to my room, slammed the door, and turned on my game console. If I couldn't join the real world, at least I could get lost in a virtual one. The attic where my room was my favorite hideout. It had a small round window that looked directly out onto the neighborhood. From here, I could observe everything without being seen. After a few hours immersed in the gaming world, I heard the parade music starting up in the distance. Curious, I turned off my console, switched off the lights, and climbed onto the chair by the window. The scene below was brilliant. The parade procession glittered like a river of light, but my attention was drawn to something else. The Wilsons' house, our neighbors directly across the street. Like my family, they had also gone to see the parade. Their house was dark, silent, but it wasn't completely dark. In their living room window, I saw a faint flickering light. Ting. Ting. A small light like the flashlight from a phone. At first, I thought maybe they had forgotten to turn off a light. But the light was moving. It was sweeping back and forth inside the dark room as if someone was looking for something. Probably just some older kids playing a prank, I thought. It's Halloween, after all. But then I heard a sound. A faint crack, but very clear in the silence of the night. The sound of breaking glass. My heart started to pound. I scrambled to get my dad's old binoculars. I returned to the window, raised the binoculars to my eyes with trembling hands, and aimed them at the Wilsons' house. The image came into sharp focus. There were two figures inside. They weren't kids playing a prank. They were dressed in dark clothing, and through the flickering light, I could still see their faces clearly. They looked like teenagers, maybe around my 20-year-old cousin's age. But what was unusual was that they were rummaging through the belongings violently, smashing everything around them. One was using a crowbar to pry open a cabinet, while the other was scooping items off a shelf into a large bag. They were burglars, real burglars, right in my neighbor's house. I stood frozen, unable to believe my eyes. What should I do? Call the police? But the landline phone was all the way downstairs, and then something terrifying happened. One of the two burglars, as if sensing something, suddenly stopped. He slowly, very slowly raised his head and looked directly towards my window. Through the 2 layers of glass, through the dark space between us, I could clearly see his eyes lock onto mine. He nudged his accomplice's shoulder and pointed towards my house. They had seen me. A wave of pure panic washed over me. They had seen me. They knew I was home alone. And now, they were coming over. I bolted out of my room, scrambling down the stairs. I had to call my parents. I grabbed the landline phone in the living room, my hands shaking as I dialed my mom's number. The phone rang once, twice. "Hello?" My mom's voice came through, the loud music of the parade in the background. "Mom!" I screamed, my voice cracking with fear. "There are burglars. They're at the Wilsons' house. They saw me. They're coming." Click. The line went dead. I frantically pressed the redial button, but there was only a dead silence. I looked out the window. The phone line leading to our house had been cut, dangling uselessly in the wind. I was completely isolated. I could only hope that my mom had heard enough, that she had realized something was wrong and would be coming back soon. But for now, I had to face them on my own. Bang! A loud noise came from the back door. They were trying to break in. I didn't have much time. The nimble mind of a 10-year-old started racing, searching for a solution. And then, an idea sparked. Home Alone, my favorite movie. Kevin McAllister had single-handedly defeated 2 clumsy burglars. Why couldn't I? A surge of naive confidence fueled by fear rose within me. I wouldn't run. I would fight. This was my house. I ran to the kitchen. My plan started to take shape. I opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of Hershey's chocolate syrup. I emptied the entire bottle onto the floor right in front of the back door, creating a slippery, sticky trap. Next, I ran to the living room, took my mom's heavy crystal vase and balanced it on the edge of a slightly ajar door. A classic trap. And finally, the ultimate weapon. I ran up to my room, pulled out my giant box of Legos. I turned it upside down, spreading a sharp plastic minefield at the bottom of the stairs. Crash! The back door burst open. I quickly ran upstairs, hiding at the top of the staircase, my heart racing. I heard footsteps, then a loud thud followed by a vulgar curse. The chocolate syrup had worked. But then came a second set of footsteps. The other one had made it inside. I held my breath, listening. I heard him walking around in the kitchen, the sound of cabinet doors being opened. Then the footsteps headed towards the living room. I heard the living room door being pushed open. Smash! The vase fell, shattering into 100 pieces. Another angry shout echoed through the house. My game was working, but it was also making them angrier. I heard their footsteps coming towards the stairs. "You little brat, where are you? Come out now!" a voice roared. They started to come up, and then a blood-curdling scream of pain. One of them had stepped on my Lego minefield. My satisfaction lasted only a split second, because immediately after I heard a sound that was even more terrifying. The sound of plastic bricks being crushed under a furious boot. He didn't stop. The pain only made him more enraged. I knew the game was over. This wasn't a comedy movie, this was real. And these guys weren't clumsy burglars, they were dangerous. I scrambled into my bedroom and dove under the bed, curling up in the farthest corner. This was my last fortress. The silence of the house was now replaced by a destructive rage. I heard the sound of furniture being overturned, glass shattering, wood splintering. They were no longer looking for valuables. They were looking for me. And they were taking their anger out on my house, destroying everything in their path. Thud, thud, thud. My own heartbeat was a frantic drum in my ears. I lay under the bed, curled up as small as I could be, my hand clamped over my mouth to stop my terrified sobs from escaping. Through the gap under the bed, I could see the shards from my mother's vase scattered across the floor. I heard their footsteps right outside my bedroom door. Creak. The door slowly opened. A pair of dirty sneakers stepped in, then another pair. They were in the room. "Where are you hiding, you little brat?" one of them growled. "Playing hide and seek?" They tore the room apart. I could hear my desk being flipped over, books and pencils clattering to the floor, and then one of them bent down at the foot of the bed. From the closet, I let out a sigh of relief as I had managed to change my hiding spot to inside the wardrobe. I tried to bury myself in the messy pile of clothes stacked up like a mountain inside, not daring to make a sound. Then they started rummaging through the drawers in the room. One of them yanked open the wardrobe door where I was hiding. Perhaps it was the darkness and the pile of dirty clothes I had amassed that disgusted him. He turned away. I almost stopped breathing. At that moment, I silently thanked my own messy habit of never folding my clothes neatly. Just then, I heard the wail of a police siren in the distance. The sound grew louder and louder. "The cops are here!" the other one yelled. "Let's get out of here!" I heard their footsteps rushing out of the room, running down the stairs. A moment later, I heard the front door being smashed open and my dad's voice roaring my name. "Peta! Peta, are you okay?" I still didn't dare to move. I lay there, trembling until I felt a familiar warm hand gently shaking my shoulder. "It's okay, son. I'm here now." My parents were home. They had realized something was wrong the moment my call was cut off. They had called 911 immediately. The police arrived, but the thugs had escaped through the back door, disappearing into the Halloween night. Our house was a wreck. Everything was smashed, but I was safe. Physically. For many days after, I lived in constant fear that they would come back. Every strange noise at night made me jump. Every shadow in the corner of the room looked like a thug hiding. Fear had become my constant companion. But luckily, 10 years have passed, and they never came back. The police never caught them. They just simply vanished like ghosts in the night. That night, I learned a lesson. Monsters don't just exist in horror movies, they're real. And sometimes they even know how to play hide and seek. And I realized the game of Home Alone in real life isn't fun at all.